What happens to your brain during the dying process? Only animal studies have been completed, but no human studies. Animal studies of cardiac and respiratory arrest demonstrate a surge of gamma oscillations and functional connectivity. Hence, this study successfully solves the unsolved mystery and gap in research involving humans and their brains in the dying process. Currently, brain function around the time of cardiac arrest is poorly understood. Many individuals would assume that with cardiac arrest comes the associated loss of consciousness. Do you think the brain is conscious in the dying process? Well, many would say no, and I would too. However, what if this isn't true? We need to challenge our cardinal understanding of what the dying brain may actually look like. And what does this mean? Is neural activity associated with consciousness or simple brain activities? What is the philosophical significance? While some of these questions might be answered, a majority isn't. However, this study sets us on the right path to finding out more. To understand what the results mean, we first need to understand about the subjective experience of near death and what this might look like. This can aid us in linking the results to this experience. Cardiac arrest survivors and those who've experienced near death have described the experience as realer than real, vivid hallucinations and bright lights, flying, hearing things, which can be described as having an out-of-body experience. The aim of this study was to identify neural correlates of the dying process. To test the hypothesis that there are neural correlates in the dying brain, seen in previous animal studies, this study used EEG of 4 dying patients before and after the clinical withdrawal of their ventilator support. S1 demonstrates the patient at a comatose level with full life support with non-invert consciousness during the last 24 hours of their lives. S2 demonstrates the period of ventilator removal until the acute EEG suppression seen in all patients. Figure 1a shows patient 1's left anterior mid-temporal lobe exhibiting a surge of gamma power at near death and remaining visibly detectable after ventilation removal until S10. Figure 1b shows spatial and temporal dynamics of gamma power at S1 and at near-death stages. This evidence demonstrates that the withdrawal of ventilator support stimulates a transient and global surge of gamma activities. This data represents global hypoxia, which occurs through lack of oxygen to maintain homeostasis, thus from the ventilator removal, stimulated gamma activities in 2 of the patients. The surge of gamma activity was both local within the TPO junctions and global between TPO zones and the contralateral prefrontal areas. Activation of the TPO junctions provides a key gateway for visuospatial processing in normal human brains and is associated with dreaming and in waking. Thus, this is considered a hot zone for neural correlates of consciousness. These studies demonstrate that the human brain can be active during cardiac arrest. A limitation is that only 2 out of 4 of the patients were focused on for subsequent analysis. Patient 2 and patient 4 showed absence of gamma power increase and near death. Additionally, both patients who exhibited gamma activity also had a history of seizures. Hence, the surge of gamma power in select cortical regions could have been seizure due to hypoxic stress. There needs to be further investigation as the EEG data didn't pick up on any electrographic seizures. However, there is a possibility that seizures occurred in small, deep cortical regions that the EEG did not pick up on. The implication of this study can help lead us to answer why certain people experience hallucinations and vivid imagery at near death, and start to begin our journey about consciousness and the dying process. In attempting to answer the question if the brain is conscious in the dying process, a theory posits that neural correlates of consciousness are the minimum mechanisms to define consciousness, i.e. visual, auditory, motion, etc. And in the dying process, the TPO junction were active in near death, which represents visuospatial mechanisms. Hence, this relates to the basic mechanisms to constitute consciousness. This study offers a glimpse at what near-death experiences may be like. TPO activation highlights why people may experience hallucinations, as the TPO is cardinal in dreaming. This could ultimately explain the subjective experience of individuals who have experienced near death. Therefore, can we say we are conscious at cardiac arrest? Whilst we have seen the neurological evidence, we may also need the philosophical questions to aid in defining the consciousness in near death. The significance is that this is the first ever study on humans that has then concluded there is neural connectivity in the brain in the dying process. Additionally, this study only identifies neural activity, hence it opens the pathways to many more possibilities. It is the first step to answering the many questions involved with the brain, consciousness, and the dying process. Future directions. Gaining insight into the mechanisms and functions of the observed gamma power surge during the dying process needs further investigation. Only the neurological questions have been answered, but what does this data represent? As this is the first study in humans, this study lays the foundation for further investigation into the convert consciousness during cardiac arrest. It can help gain insight into the challenging and complex mechanisms of human consciousness. Subjective experience of near-death and cardiac arrest is unknown and creates a difficult problem when discussing consciousness. How can we gain experimental insight into the consciousness? Thus, to perhaps answer this, potentially monitoring patients who survive cardiac arrest whilst being monitored by an EEG could be interviewed to see if their brainwaves and gamma activity align with their subjective experience. Thank you.